we'll just moving forward to get more information and more formal proposals, and we will be discussing this issue when this comes before the council as well. So I appreciate your time and thank you for your patience. I think we had a great discussion. Okay, moving forward.
Thank you.
Item 15, accept the final Escondido Creek Master Plan and authorize staff to seek and acquire grants.
Move approval. No, she's going to the bathroom.
Mayor Evan, members of council, we're here tonight to bring you what the title says, the final, oh no, I'm sorry. Bear with me. I'm sorry. We come to you to bring you the final, what the title says, the final Creek Trail Master Plan. And in essence, it's actually, if you consider walking down the trail, 2 years ago we awarded the bid and completed the vision state plan with the Cal Poly students. This is our second stop on the trail with the master plan, and we say final master plan because that's the language we're using for the SANDAG grant that we were awarded last spring. And this will be part of the requirements was to present this to you as a final document and then on to them. What will happen after this tonight, depending on council comments and direction, would that we would proceed with the planning department to continue with this journey and work towards a creek trail overlay where we can implement some of the design things you'll see tonight and some of the other ideas we're having going down in that direction. That'll be coming to you later on towards the end of this year. As a reminder, this grant here was a $75,000 grant from SANDAG for a healthy community grant that would allow access for the specifically for Mission Park area to access to healthy foods and access to the community clinic and other health resources, and to make that area a more pedestrian and bike-friendly area. So we've done that. So the first part of this is I'd like to introduce Glenn Smith. You're all familiar with him, Smith Design Group. You know, he has designed Grove Park, most recently Maple Street Plaza, and for full disclosure, he also designed the Stone Bistro Gardens, but we didn't plan this the way it's worked out. So without any, we'll proceed with that. I'll let Glenn go ahead with his presentation, and then we'll take comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Good evening, Mayor and council members. It's a pleasure to be before you again tonight. I wanted to start by recognizing you for your vision. This project and other projects that you are supporting makes your community very livable, very walkable, and bicycle friendly. And this is going to be one of the granddaddies of that, which provides a link for all the way from the east to the west of your community. And we're excited to present it to you. The report that I believe you have a copy of, it's about 85 pages long. So I'm going to try and give you the highlights. Starting out with really what we're trying to build from is the Revealing Escondido Creek Vision Plan that was created by students of Cal Poly Pomona in 2010. That set some very specific goals, which we've tried to build on. So that, you can imagine, that's sort of the 10,000-foot level view, and we're narrowing it down to about 1,000 feet. We're not on the ground yet, but we're providing more of design guidelines to help guide the development as it moves along. So this is the next step in the development, and as Rich mentioned, it's part of a Healthy Communities Planning Grant through SANDAG. The area that we've studied is about 5 miles from the transit center to the eastern limit of the city, but really the guidelines that we've presented really can be applied throughout the entire corridor from east to west. We had a number of community outreach meetings. We had a workshop in July where we talked about the opportunities and constraints. We got together again in September and provided a number of different alternatives and got a lot of feedback from the community. And the feedback that we received really guided and molded the recommendations that we have in the report. We also had an online survey where we received 92 responses. After we developed our recommendations, we also went to the Design Review Board and the Planning and Community Services in the fall, in November. The guidelines are really divided into 4 different areas that I'm going to run through quickly for you. Trail design, trail identity, some of the amenities and specifics, and then user safety. So starting with the trail design and connections and alignment, the actual trail itself is a 12-foot wide asphalt utility road in a way, and that's not shown on the left in this exhibit. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to soften that a little bit by actually removing 2 feet on either side to make the actual paved area 8 foot wide. And then on 2 foot on each side, we'd have compacted decomposed granite. And this is a strategy that we used in designing the Solana Beach Coastal Rail Trail. And this is a picture of that trail. And you can see that folks really enjoy having a little softer edge for jogging. It also helps to be almost, it's like a traffic calming kind of a technique. It slows people down a little bit. It just makes the trail a little bit more soft. You'll see in our recommendations that most of the trail right now is pretty linear, pretty straight. And we're going to be keeping it mostly that way because of the cost of the infrastructure of building that existing trail. But in areas where we're adding new trails, we are showing the opportunity to do some meandering of the trail, which is part of the feedback that we received. This shows some of the studies that we did in terms of the alignment. We have much of the trails on the south side of the Escondido Creek Channel, but there are opportunities that we've noted for running on the north side and some loops. We have connections to different important parts of the community. Also in the guidelines, we set up some recommendations for providing incentives and having the adjacent developments face the creek more than they have. And so that's another part of our recommendation, is trying to tie in future development to this new amenity that we're kind of this gem in the rough that we're going to make much nicer. In terms of the trail identity, we spent a lot of time talking with the community about what really is unique to Escondido and how can we incorporate themes that are really truly special for Escondido and represent Escondido. We came up with this theme of community, discovery, and heritage, and all of it has to do with discovery. A lot of the input we received related to trying to connect people to the creek of what was there at what time, at one time, and then also the fact that we're in some really dense urban areas, and so connecting with the community, connecting it with the heritage of the history of Escondido was also important. And in a way, you can think of this long trail as almost a thread that kind of weaves through the community. And so we came up with this idea of fabric, and then we had different themes associated with this fabric. And we have, this sort of shows that toward the eastern end it's more toward the open space trail, and we have more urban areas, and then toward the west it's more kind of natural as well. And then so what we did is we incorporated this idea is along this whole trail we would have a number of different rest points, or we call them nodes or discovery points, and we have different themes along the way. And so you can see that on this exhibit that on the eastern side we have more environmental discovery themes, and then as you get into the heart of the urban zone it's more related to community and heritage, and then as you get more toward the western end it'll go back again to more of an environmental theme. And the idea of the fabric came to us in relation to different art forms and different cultures and how they express themselves with fabric. And so we had this idea of these area rugs. And we could take these area rugs and incorporate the different themes, the community, discovering human and natural communities, discovering the creek, and heritage, discovering the cultural and physical heritage of the community and the creek. And so, and you can think about all these different area rugs that are done by artists and things. It's quite interesting how many different patterns we can have. And so we thought that this might be an interesting opportunity to incorporate your public art program, where this is a photo simulation of one of these rest points or area rugs along the trail, where we'd have a bench and a seating area under shade, and then that panel of pavement in the trail that would incorporate some element, some theme that relates to an area rug, And these are some different ideas that we've put forward. This might be discovering something relating to the creek with patterns that relate to eelgrass or such. This is a theme relating to Mexican American inspired the serape patterns of fabric. There's an example on the right of a project that did that, and perhaps the Kumeyaay Indians with the basket weaving, that could incorporate some interesting patterns in the pavement. There's just some examples, and it's just a really interesting way to incorporate your public art in a very, very durable surface that would be difficult to vandalize. This is some different examples of ways you can use concrete to create artful and interesting messages. So that's the theme throughout, the discovering of community and heritage. Another opportunity we have is the channel itself. And it's quite large, of course, and there's a lot of concrete and open space, open surfaces there. And so we're recommending that, again, bringing in your public art program and incorporating the idea of murals along the creek. And we would recommend that they be focused on creek education. And on the right, there are some examples in the Los Angeles River. The other thing that we incorporated to develop some more identity for the whole corridor is that wherever you cross streets, you're entering into a new section of the trail. And so in each of those areas, and you see these little green dots, we're proposing a gateway. And the gateway would be part of the identity. This is part of the Discovering Escondido Creek report. On the right, you can see they have that same idea, which we've just enhanced a little bit. And we took the idea of kind of the arc inspired by grape arbors, and then also the cobble in the river, and combined those into an artful archway entrance. This would be, the brown color is rusted steel. That's very thin. There's not a lot of surface area to graffiti. We'd have cut out steel letters to identify the trail. And then the bases would be these gabion baskets, wire baskets, so to speak, very heavy, with a concrete cap on them, with cobble from the riverbed. And then this is a cross-section that I'll talk about in several different ways of a typical section of the trail. And one of the things that we do have along the trail is a number of these little channels that bring water from the trail and from sometimes even adjacent lands into that space, and is captured into drain inlets. So what we'd like to do, instead of having those just be ditches along the edge of the trail, we're proposing that they be turned into dry creek beds, which again relates to that creek theme. And there's the photograph on the right is an example of one we did for the city of La Mesa in a park that we did there. So that would be incorporated all along the trail wherever the existing channels occur, and we would enhance them. And then in terms of general amenities, in terms of the planting, we have quite a bit of existing vegetation, but we would add to that, of course. And one of the things I wanted to mention is the the report does talk about phasing and how we would incorporate these different amenities. And one of the things that we think would be very important to start with is landscaping. Landscaping provides a sense of ownership. It improves the appearance, and it's very difficult to vandalize in some cases if it's done right. And so the idea of the planting is a great opportunity to begin that beautification. Again, we just have some different themes toward the east and the west. It'd be incorporating more native plant material. In the central city part, it would be native plant material mixed with more Mediterranean, all very drought tolerant. The report incorporates a number of planting schemes and legend with different plant material recommendations, and that's incorporated as well. So this shows some of the ideas for the beautification. We incorporate shade trees all along the trail wherever we could to provide a nice human scale, but expand the shade along the entire corridor. Then underneath the shade trees would be low-level shrubs. We wouldn't have a lot of big shrubs that someone could hide behind, all low-level, and bring in color and greenery there. I mentioned the dry creek beds, wherever we have those. And then we're going to have edges, which would be where the property line is on the left side of your screen there. That would be a fence, and we'd incorporate vines on that to screen. So if it's and there's different land uses, of course. If it's someone's backyard, that would be a 6-foot fence covered with vines. So it'd be screening them. If it's an area that's more of a commercial center that you want to open up to, it might be a lower fence that might be left open. So it's set up so it's quite flexible based on the different land uses along the trail. And then on the other side of the trail, we have a low fence against the channel on the right side of that exhibit. And then we have an opportunity for some more vines, and we have the idea of actually incorporating vines there that would spill down over the concrete channel to further soften the feeling of that whole corridor. And this shows a broader view of the channel. On the other side of the channel where we don't have the pathway, we have a maintenance path. We still would like to incorporate trees as best we can. There's some utility issues there, but wherever we can, we would recommend you incorporate trees there. In terms of site furnishings, as you saw in that illustration that we had a bench at our discovery node points, we'd like that to incorporate that same theme with the gabions, which is the design on the left, with a gabion rock base with wood or recycled wood top, and then some more traditional benches on the right, not metal benches. We heard clearly that metal benches get too hot, and so we have wood or recycled wood. Now what's not shown on these exhibits or these photographs is we're recommending there's a center arm be placed in the benches, so they would not be a place that people could sleep. So we incorporate a center arm in the bench and a central ridge on the low gabion bench to deter people from sleeping on them. We also have other site furnishings for bike racks and dog dispensers and trash cans. There was a comment from the community that why don't we incorporate a small little skate park along the trail. And so identified a spot near Washington Park that's right next to Rose Street there. It's open. It's about, I think that rectangle is about 30 by 100 feet. And the little photograph on the inset is a little skate park, unsupervised, that we designed for another park. Just a very simple place that kids could go out and do some grinding and things. It's against the parking lot and against the park. That's incorporated into the master plan. And then just again, part of this healthy communities idea is to have mile markers all along the trail. So if you're jogging or walking, you can keep track of your distance. And also there's a little 3/4 mile fitness loop right at Broadway east to Hickory Street. And we're proposing a loop there. And within that loop, we're incorporating some exercise stations. And that's right across from Grape Day, and be hopefully a place people would go to get a little exercise in that loop. And then this is how we might incorporate those mile markers along the way, with just a little different pavement, and then etched into the pavement the mileage. We also have incorporated interpretive signage. But again, if you look at our next steps and the way we've shown the phasing, this is the kind of thing that you would extend a little farther down the line. You wouldn't want to necessarily bring a lot of signage out there right now, but as the trail improves and is beautified and and there's more people using it, then incorporate some of these elements like signage that's a little more vulnerable to vandalism. And then lastly, user safety. There's a number of street crossings throughout the corridor. Some of them are signalized, and you're incorporating an undercrossing at Ash Street, but many of them are not, and they're pretty dangerous at times to shoot across there. And so we've incorporated different signalized opportunities at these intersections. There's two different types. One is an actual signal where a pedestrian would push the button and it would turn red and stop traffic for them to cross. And then on less busy streets, there would be something like this, which would be a flashing warning light that could be actuated by the pedestrian to warn vehicles that pedestrians are going to cross. And then lighting was an important part of the feedback we got from the community, and we actually spent a night out on the trail with the Escondido's finest, and it was very obvious how much different the character was in the very, very dark areas versus the ones that are lit. So lighting would happen throughout the corridor, and this has incorporated an interesting style light, something like what's on the left, but there's also opportunities to kind of piggyback on adjacent development. The photograph in the middle is near Juniper Street. where Rich worked with them on adding a second light that would, from their parking lot, that would light part of the trail. So those kind of opportunities are ones that would hopefully be available throughout. And then there was feedback from the community that they'd like to look into solar lighting. That technology is changing fast, so we have that in the master plan if that's something that is available for the corridor. We also had recommendations for video surveillance to deter crime. And the police officers were very much in favor of that, and the technology, again, has moved along quickly. And so that's another part of the recommendation for the master plan. Then finally, the fencing, I mentioned it to you. There's a kind of a mismatch of different fencing styles out there. We'd like to incorporate the 4-foot fence against the channel, then either a 4-foot or 6-foot up against the adjacent properties. And the idea is that that would be more of a black tubular steel fence or metal wire fence like these examples, both in 4 feet and 6 foot. And this is an exact idea of what they look like at 6 foot. So that concludes my presentation. So this is our simulation of what that trail might look like and the vision that the design guidelines incorporate. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions at this time? Mr. Bouquet.
And I just want to close the staff presentation that will ask you to adopt Resolution 2012-11, which would accept this final presentation that you've just seen and authorize the Community Services Director to seek and acquire grants that would be appropriate for the Creek Trail. And to clarify my staff report, that would mean that instead of us coming to you with each grant opportunity to approve it, we would ask for a blanket approval so we could move forward and seek grants that are out there specifically for the Creek Trail. That's all we're asking for. Thank you.
We give a blanket direction to receive money, but not the other way around. That's good.
I just have 2 quick questions.
Councilmember Diaz.
Oh, go ahead. Ladies first today.
Well, thank you very much for your work. It's beautiful, and it's in keeping with the vision plan that the students from Cal Poly put together, and it's really a kind of a noble, heartwarming project. Considering in politics those are few and far between, this is one that makes me very proud because we're taking what is a city property that's an eyesore and eventually converting it to something that we can be as proud of as some of our other jewel parks. I like the idea of a 7-mile-long linear park, but of course then there's the educational components that remind people that it is a watershed area and that there are environmental issues that they need to be aware of when they think about the creek. And so the work is absolutely beautiful. I want to maybe thank a lot of people for their efforts, community involvement to bring us to this report today, and namely Katie Regazzi, and earlier I saw Patricia Spann here. That was the original crew of people that had the wild idea to even propose something like this, and certainly there have been so many folks involved that it's very heartwarming to know that we can get this much work done. In terms of the presentation, I was happy to see that the skate park idea made it in. I actually have a printout of a grant application for skate parks from Tony Hawk Foundation, which he's a famous skater, if you know about skaters, and he actually has a foundation, and he gives grants to communities to build skate parks. And I've been looking at the application because this is something that in theory we would want to apply for. One of the key things is that the city be supportive, and of course we demonstrate that by having council approval and having a plan like this. Doesn't mean, Sam, that we're spending the money and building a park now, but I think the concept of having a park on the east side of town that is free and open and effectively doesn't require supervision the way that our Kit Carson skate park does. It would make us very eligible for a grant like this. It's doable is what I'm getting at, that we can find lots of these kinds of opportunities, and eventually, maybe 10, 15, 20 years, it'll take us to turn it into what we see in these photos, but that we have to keep this kind of momentum and energy going and looking for these opportunities. So I hope that you'll agree that that's a good use of the space near Rose Park. It's already a park. It creates a destination along the creek. It gets a lot of kids on that side of town an opportunity to have fun skateboarding in a safe environment. So I'd like to hear what your thoughts on that. Other than that, I think it's going to benefit residential and business uses along the trail. I mean, this trail is 7.5 miles long, the channelized part of it through our city, and it's not always something people want to be near, so I hope we can transform that in time, that people either want to have a view of this creek from their backyards, or that businesses along the creek want to take advantage of the open space and have patio seating and such. I like the fitness components. I like the DG for running. It's a lot better for your knees if you can have that type of surface. And I think I heard you say that we will work with the utilities infrastructure upgrade to bring the recycled water out to the east end of town. That's a separate project, but it's in the same space, and that we can maybe piggyback on their efforts to try and beautify that side of the creek, or the utility side of the pathway. They're going to dig it up, install pipe, and then cover it back up. And while they're at it, there's a lot of other things that we can do too. So, did I hear you? I think I heard you say that. Or I'll just look over at Chris McKinney.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
I've had a meeting earlier this month with utilities, and we've discussed working in partnership, and it's actually a great opportunity because, as you remember, Juniper Village, where I was able to work with the developers to utilize dirt that would have been otherwise hauled away and different things like that, and working with the lights, we partnered and saved a lot of money. We've already talked with Chris's staff about doing that. They're looking at 2014 for that finish of that reclaimed water, but there's opportunities there. So if you kind of visualize this trail would be in my background as building homes, it would be the new carpet after we built the home. So we'd build the pipe underground and then cover it with this creek trail.
Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely beautiful. And Rich, thank you, because I know you've done a lot of the staff work and really pushed and made a lot of these things happen. And I really appreciate your effort. So look forward to hearing comments from the rest of the council.
Great. Question at this time, because I have public speakers.
The first one is, you mentioned something about a 4-foot fence on the flood control channel side of the path. I have an issue with that. It seems like 4 feet is probably too low. I've seen too many little kids, run away from their parents. Not run away, but I mean, they get distance ahead. And little kids like to climb stuff. They'd have a hard time climbing a 6-foot fence, but not that much difficulty on a 4-footer. And that's where I have an issue. So I know you'll consider that, just from a safety standpoint. And you can gingerbread anything up. It doesn't matter how big it is. And the other question would be, would you consider doing this in phases? Like concentrate on, say, Rose to Broadway the first time you're talking about getting money and grants and things like that, but just say take that section first, and then when that gets done, then go on to maybe a little bit further north? I don't know.
Council approved in my CDBG budget for this fiscal year $200,000 for this demonstration project that Glenn is calling in your presentation the fitness trail between Broadway and Hickory. So we'll have to work again with utilities to see what part of that we can implement, but the money is already there for that part. And if Council does approve us acquiring grants, we'll probably have to look at it and see whether the points that are key points along the trail that are demanding the first rebuilding, so to speak.
And I just want to make a comment about, it's really easy to put capital funds out and build something, but you have to consider the maintenance aspect after that's done. I've been around long enough. I see Jerry Harmon sitting back there, and he's been here long enough too, to realize that projects get done and nobody thinks about maintenance down the road, and then all of a sudden it goes, and I'll bring up the bike path. When I was on the Transportation Commission, we had a book on the bike path going through Escondido. I read through the whole thing, and I said, there's not one word in here about maintenance. It was sent back to be redone, to put a maintenance component in there, okay, because that's an ongoing expense. One time money, boom, it's done, finished.
Can you just follow up with Councilmember Gallo's question about the CDBG matching fund? We have approved several funding from CDBG, and then the last one is $200,000. So where do we stand now on this CDBG funding?
You're quite right. There was the original funding was to match actually a SANDAG grant that we still have to put lighting in from Broadway to Ash.
The $75,000?
That was $157,000 from SANDAG, okay. and I brought it to you in two sections, $75,000 to fund the Cal Poly study, and the remainder I came back to match to give the matching funds to the SANDAG grant for the lighting. SANDAG accepted the $75,000 contract, or it was actually 50-something thousand with Cal Poly as part of our matching grants. They were okay with us using that money to do that. So there is a small amount of money, about $20,000, $30,000 left in that account, and then Glenn's study that you just saw was paid from the SANDAG grant of $75,000. Yeah. We had the part of the Juniper Senior Village. I'm probably giving you a longer answer, but Juniper Senior Village, that I had a sum total using part of that first money again of less than $60,000 for about $130,000, $140,000 worth of work if we would have subcontracted it out. And then now we have that $200,000 to do that demonstration project, and I haven't spent any of that yet.
So we have $200,000 plus some other funding remaining.
157, so 357 plus 75, so we're over $400,000 that we've already acquired without a dime spent out of general fund.
Right. Today we are approving the master plan for the creek, and that is a prerequisite or a requirement by SANDAG to fund to provide more funding for the project.
No, that was a requirement for this grant itself.
Right.
There has been news articles that SANDAG, Stephen Vance from SANDAG has spoke highly of this and is waiting to fund more of this.
I sit on the board, and I know that SANDAG board with the 19 representatives, they are becoming very picky and very demanding that, we want to there is a lot of competing interests from other cities. Mm-hmm. So our city is ahead by having a master plan, and that will make it easier for the board to approve more funding. So
would they consider money for street paving and roads around the creek area?
Okay. Let's open the public hearings. We have few speakers. Kevin Bernard.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Kevin Bernard. I'm a member of the Escondido Creek Conservancy, a board member, and I'm here to represent them. We're located at 111 North Broadway. But if you travel anywhere along the 26-mile length of the Escondido Creek, you might see one of us pop up in front of you. So we're not exclusive just to the city of Escondido. I just wanted to offer a quote Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes once said, "A river is more than an amenity, it is a treasure." It's in this spirit that we offer our congratulations on achieving this milestone of a master plan for revitalization of the Escondido Creek. It is a critical initial step in furthering the vision of the creek as detailed in the Cal Poly study of 2010. We would also like to recognize the hard work, perseverance, and yes, patience of city staff, Rich Bouquet, in this process, because we had some challenging conversations along the way. And Glenn, for your patience and perseverance. We also appreciate the leadership of Councilmember Diaz as well. Thank you very much. TEC, and that's what we're also known as, the Escondido Creek Conservancy, looks forward to working in cooperation with the city and the many organizations that are represented on the Reveal the Creek Committee. We offer the thought that realizing the full potential of this plan will require a multifaceted strategy that will likely result in the unlikely, and that is the joining of entrepreneurism and environmentalism. We believe exploring the incentivizing of properties adjacent to the creek in order to maximize what will be a major investment should be done. And we would support that. And I think that's an unusual stance for a conservation organization to take. Imagine residential over commercial along sections of a living creek with occasional open spaces and parks Imagine canyons and open valleys being mimicked in an urban setting by the style of development and buildings that could occur along that creek. Imagine being the only city in Southern California in which you could watch steelhead trout migrate up and down an urban creek. It happens in San Luis Obispo. It can happen here. You give us the setting, we'll send you the trout. So this is the first step that will truly begin to reveal the creek to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Katie Ragazzi.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council and staff. It's a pleasure to be before you today. This is such an exciting occasion to view this master plan, but I wanted to share with you just a couple of observations. As many of us know, there are many cities around the country and around the world that have successfully found innovative ways to redefine waterways that cross these cities and towns, and we are well on our own way here in Escondido, so it's a very exciting thing for our community to develop this asset. I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge my colleague and friend Jeffrey Smith, who about 3 years ago described his vision for these urban 7 miles of the Escondido Creek. And it was those conversations that motivated me to get involved in this project. So I just wanted to thank Jeffrey Smith. The group that I'm here representing is Reveal Escondido Creek. Kevin Barnard was talking about TEC, the Escondido Creek Conservancy. Well, we're REC, Reveal Escondido Creek. Those are our acronyms, right? And this is an interesting group. It's a new group. It's a collaborative group that's comprised of individual volunteers, such as people like me and Patricia Spann and others. And we also have representatives from many organizations around town. And we have our eyes on a good number of local businesses who are natural partners in this group. And I really have a two-part message here. The first part is that this group, Reveal Escondido Creek, we've been meeting regularly for more than a year. We're engaged in a very active strategic planning process right now, which will help us move forward even more effectively. And we maintain the website that the Cal Poly students began, which is a crucial aspect to projects like this. And as you know, we've held several community events. So far, they've all been bike rides along the creek path, and we did partner with the Day of the Child event in Grape Day Park last year. So that's one part of the message today, that we have this new collaborative group of different kinds of people and organizations and businesses that are here to help realize this vision. And the second part of what we wanted to say was that we were able to review this plan this week, and thank you for making that possible. We're very excited about this plan. It's a huge step forward for this vision that we're all learning more about and becoming more excited about. And we want to commend council and staff and the architect, Glenn Schmidt, for this project. It will help us make this vision real. And to conclude, I just want to tell council and staff and the community that our collaborative group is here to help you. We want to add value. We want to bring new resources to the table. We're looking for new partners to incrementally realize this vision. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Ragazzi. Great comments. Patricia Spann, I think she left. Also, Jean Bourgeois, I think she left, but she put a note that she is in favor of the project. I don't have any more speakers. I want to recognize former Mayor Jerry Hartman here, who's sat on the dais for over 25 years. Would you like to say a few words, Jerry? I know you felt you had a passion for the environmental issues in this city, and you have left a legacy here, so we'd like to hear from you.
Take very little amount of your time. I want to echo the comments and thoughts that Kevin Bernard gave you regarding a combination of environmental efforts and business efforts to really, I think, help to make this creek walk and this revitalization of Escondido Creek a reality. And we think that there's some golden opportunities for both business and the environmental community to come together to work on this.
Great.
Thank you for being supportive.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, that's all what I have in public hearings. Back to council discussion and comments. Any more comments? Okay, Councilmember Waldron.
Well, I was thinking, you know, before I was on the council, the city was acquiring the land to do a bike path. And, you know, you think back, that was 15, 16 years ago probably when they were doing that. And they've created a bike path, so there was, you know, this idea we wanted something there. And now we're finally getting to the point where maybe it can become usable, you know, for folks. And for more than just a bike path, for walking and, all those things. We brought dogs out on it once when we had the grand opening over by where the Isoplex was, that section. Section by section, we've seen it come together. So, I really like the designs. Very high quality. I like the idea that was the Cal Poly students have brought in about emphasizing the entranceways at each street and making them unique. That's a really neat thing, I think. The safety issues obviously are a concern, the lighting, things like that. I agree with Ed. I think 4 feet might be a little bit too low, just for the safety's sake. And, as far as the funding, I hope it doesn't take another 15 years to finally get everything together. So hopefully we can do it quicker than that.
Councilmember Morasco.
No, again, just congratulations. It's beautiful. It's exciting. It would be a wonderful venue. The only thing that I see that it's missing is water, and perhaps we'll have further information as time goes by as to how that might be remedied as well. I mean, other than the fact that it's a seasonal creek, and we'd like to be able to take advantage of some of those waterways, as was discussed before, that other cities have done to have that aspect of it. I don't think the steelhead are going to survive on just in a seasonal creek with a dry concrete floor. But again, I'm not an expert in that area. What's the discussion been as far as that's concerned?
Sorry, the discussion with Steelhead is with Tech, and that's downstream, and Kevin could speak to that again, but that's downstream, and they're already working on that. I believe there was an article in the paper in this last year about reintroducing Steelhead, and part of the complexities I know a little bit about is that the water that is so shallow through the channelized portion heats up and it raises the water temperature downstream, so they're working real hard to try to fix that. So I think I'm not speaking for Kevin, but when he mentioned that, he's talking about the whole stream and the whole
26 miles,
trail.
not our 7-mile section or something like that?
That's right.
Okay.
No, they have, 26 miles?
Yeah.
That's the Escondido Creek. I mean,
Yeah,
it goes
no, I
from way up
understand.
there all the way out to the ocean. Are you done?
Well, no, again, I know it's crazy, but people are talking big here and about doing a lot of different things, and again, please ignore my ignorance. I apologize for it, but is there any possible way of ever having portions of our concrete creek dammed up for some sort of year-round waterway at all, or anything like that? Is that just not even feasible or possible or even legal?
Those are great ideas that I can explore with utilities, and we can come back with you on that. Yeah. One of the thoughts we had was trying to get grants, or not grants, I should say, permits from Fish and Game to actually, what you were asking about, pick up that water out of the channel, bring it up through those dry creek beds that Glenn has represented, and just drop it back down into the creek. So just borrow it for a little while. I was told that would take a long process, but we'll continue to explore those opportunities for you.
One of the things that we received this week was an update on our ability and what it takes for us to be able to even do reparation and cleaning of the creek, especially further towards the west, and the process that's taking us 5, 6, 7 years, however many years it is, just to get the permits to be able to go in and do cleanup of that area. Is there any way that we can get that process accelerated, and how is that going to affect this portion of the plan?
Again, I would have to ask if Chris wants to come up and answer that one from utilities, but we could work with them for that, but I don't have any expertise in that side.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Well, we received an update that's stating basically how many years it's taking us just to get the permits necessary to do mandatory cleanup maintenance and portions of the creek. And it looks like it's going to take us several more years just to get those permits. We're already talking 5 years ago when the process was started or more, 2006, 6 years ago.
I think you're referring to the general regional permit or regional general permit.
Whatever it is, it's inane, whatever it is. But.
Well, that permit process has been going on for some time. We're hopeful that it's going to be completed about a year from now, and then we'll be able to start using that permit to clean up various sites around the city in a more timely fashion. What that permit won't necessarily allow us to do is some of these sites that have gone a longer period of time without being cleaned, we won't be able to clean those the first time under that permit. So we're still working on a few sites, the Harmony Grove site, which is near the downstream end of the channelized portion. We'll still need a site-specific permit for locations like that so that we can clean those up. But then once we get that first cleaning done so that they're in a clean state, then we'll be able to use the regional general permit to keep those sites clean. And the permitting process will be much more streamlined after that.
And also that permit is multi-year. It's not just one time, one activity. It's for several years. That's the good news.
Yeah, it's a 5-year permit, I believe. So.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It just seems like we should have been able to do, and I'm not saying it's our fault, I'm saying that we should be able to use at least our congressional representatives in this area to get something like that done or expedited or at least accelerated. No way, huh?
No.
Well,
okay.
At any rate, a bit of frustration, but to see this plan, this is such a beautiful concept. I just hate to have us so hamstrung with what we can actually do with the actual waterway portion of it as well. Anyway, my only comments.
Just to go back to the cleanup, I'm the one that got that thing started because I asked our public works director at the time if we could take care of this, and oh, sure. About a month later, it still hadn't been done, so I went to him again, and I said, how come it's not done yet? He said, well, you're not going to believe this. And then we got into the permitting process, and here we are almost 6 years later, and we still don't have a permit. But anyway, that's another. Many years ago, when we approved the bike path, I made a comment that this is great because you'd be able to take your bike if you live in Eureka Ranch and ride to work if you work at ERTC.
The Harmony Grove.
Now, this will make a nicer presentation as opposed to just riding down a chain link fence. So it'll make, and it just might get people to get on their bikes if we get some more employment at the RTC. I don't know if you know where that's at, but that's over by the hospital. And that's, 7 miles? 6 miles, 6.5? Doesn't cost any money, save on gas, no emissions. And I'm not a big environmental guy, okay? But, if we can do the right thing, then we should do the right thing. So.
Okay. Great. I think just for clarification, no general fund has been used. Probably you'll read the story tomorrow. How can the city is broke, and how can they coming up with these things? It is a CDBG funding that we use, and I think it is the very appropriate use of these funds. Definitely the staff report says, for the last 2 years that we have been coming up with this vision, and as Olga said, that it goes with the Cal Poly vision. And I'm very glad that the first funding will go near the Mission Park to serve the underserved there in Mission Park when they need pedestrian-friendly atmosphere and access to supermarkets and food and healthy environment. I think that's a good start. I remember when we started talking about this, I think people were laughing a little bit. They said, you know what, this is going to cost millions of dollars and nothing's going to happen. But if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a master plan, nothing is going to happen. Serving on Sendag board, I know if we didn't have this effort started a year ago and moving towards a master plan, we wouldn't have got the funding. We have a lot of competition among the 18 cities and Sandag, and I'm glad our staff has done a good job in being prepared and getting this done. So all the funding will be from CDBG and Sandag, and $400,000. That will be a good start to start implementing that vision. Nice work, beautiful master plan, and we're excited about it. It's just now the challenge is getting it done, one block at a time, and hopefully we will have a very nice quality of life amenities for our residents to lead a healthy city, healthy life. So with that, I think we need approval of the resolution.
I would like to move approval.
Okay. Second, yes. Okay, we have a second. Please vote. Even our computer is tired.
Then they can fix it over the break.
She's in charge. All right.
Five yes votes.